The imprisonment of former President Jacob Zuma and the recent unrest highlighted some of the issues faced by the African National Congress. With political parties gearing up for the local government elections, how will the recent incidents that's affected the ANC, in particular in KwaZulu-Natal, impact them as they prepare to campaign for these local elections? Let's speak now to Provincial Secretary in KZN, Mdumiseni Ntuli. Mduli, thank you very much for your time. So, as we're saying, KZN, the epicenter of the violent unrest that we saw, it's been described by the President as an attempted overthrow of a government, a democratically elected government, which failed. Do you agree with his characterization of the past week's events?
Well, thanks. Good morning. Thanks, Xoli. Good morning to you and the viewers at home. Xoli, it's only yesterday that we had an ordinary meeting of the Provincial Working Committee, because all along we were meeting on a daily basis, but in a platform that was inclusive of our regions and National Executive Committee members who were deployed in the province. And largely we were concerned about how to overcome the crisis on the ground and organize our structures the better to become the defense mechanism to defeat what was happening. Mm-hmm. So yesterday the PwC had an extensive discussion about the character of the phenomenon and the nature of the challenge that we went through over the past few days. The PwC agreed that a small team will have to develop our own perspective around this question to properly characterize what it is. Of course, understanding the fact that we may be somehow over-exaggerating the nature of the problem if we immediately apportion it to be an attempt to remove a democratically elected government of the ANC.
Mr. Ntuli, let me stop you there. Let me stop you there, and I apologize for this. An exaggeration, you say. The President's words were, this was a failed insurrection. Are you saying that the President has exaggerated the characterization of the past week's event?
Look, our own view is that it's too early. We are yet to see whether indeed this was an exaggeration. Remember, Xoli, you may not know this, an insurrection or a coup, as some ministers have made reference to, first and foremost, it must be having a distinct and noticeable leadership. It can't just be a chaos of people in different parts of the country whose action are in essence bordering on counter-revolutionary, that may later on result in a chaos in society that may give rise to a condition for an insurrection. So in our view, we are too far from that. We believe that in terms of our analysis last night, this which we saw happening in the province was an element of looting that was embedded on some tendency towards what may be understood in our own language as a movement, as a counter-revolutionary, where you cause a distraction, you make things completely impossible, and you create a chaos in society without necessarily having a distinct and discernible potential characters or leaders who, in an event where a government was replaced, were going to take over.
Sure.
We don't think that we are at that stage at the moment. We think that there's a bit of analysis that we need to do. That's why the PwC said a small team must sit, give a proper analysis of this now, unhampered by a difficulty of having to go outside and deal with the looting and the chaos that was taking place.
Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Ntuli, what already is shaping up in my mind, and that is that as a province, you now add to the divisions that we are seeing in the cabinet of the President, the differing views about how to characterize the events of the past week. So very interesting indeed. But
it would not be a division, Tony. We are a political organization, so we approach issues on the basis of concrete analysis of the situation we face.
All right.
We believe as a PwC that we are yet to understand the nature and the source of the problem we're confronted with. We are not yet at the point where we can concretely analyze, appropriate it to this or that situation.
Yeah, let me humbly ask you, Mr. Ntuli, to help me here. There's lots to get through, so I'm going to ask you to be quite brief because time is against us. The rounding up of alleged instigators, the latest was a former radio DJ in the area of Durban who was arrested on Monday, pardon me. What do you know of his links to ANC structures in KZN?
It's a joke. It's a joke. Look, the role that Xoli Mngambi really has played in this, in terms of our understanding. Firstly, he has absolutely no influence in the African National Congress. I don't even know if he's a member of the ANC. He doesn't participate in any of our structures, as far as I know. If he has been involved, it may be in a certain branch somewhere where he has no prominence whatsoever in any region or even in the province in KwaZulu-Natal. So to his involvement, which I think we have seen, and we're yet to understand more now that he's arrested, has been reckless statements that he has been making in the media over the past 2 or 3 months. Whether that constitutes sufficient basis to even characterize him as one of the core instigators and a possible leader of what would have ultimately become an insurrection, we're yet to see. Our view is that let's deal with people who are mobilizing around chaos and the social media posts that they've posted for what it is.
Do you agree? Do you agree with the view that this was engineered within the ANC?
It will have to be proven. People who say that it was engineered within the ANC will have to tell us which ANC, at which level, and who are these engineers. You see,
Mr. Ntuli, let me tell you why your views are quite astonishing. This is the view that was given to the nation coming out of the special NEC meeting on Monday by your acting Secretary General, Jesse Duarte, who said this was not a popular, the words she used was, this was not a popular uprising, but instead it has its roots within the ANC. So you're differing with that?
Well, let me explain what the GSG said, because fortunately I was not only in the NEC, but I also followed the press briefing. The DSG was making reference to specific individuals within the ANC whose public posture and messages have in a way suggested that they are in defiance of the direction that the national leadership and the ANC as a whole was saying we must take in terms of dealing with the issues surrounding former President Zuma. But she never said that this is engineered within the ANC. There are elements in the ANC who have taken a posture that is contradicting the formal positions of the African National Congress on how to deal with the JZ question. That is what the GSG has said, and that's how we understood her to have said it in public.
In a few months' time, Mr. Ntuli, and of course, hinging on the report of the former Deputy Chief Justice, Dikgang Moseneke, who's going to hand over his report today, we understand there is going to be an election campaign. How battered is the ANC's image in KZN? Very briefly, please.
Well, I think we were not ready in the first place because we were still doing the selection of candidates. That work has not been completed. If the elections are proceeding, I'm sure the ANC in the province will have to quickly reorganize itself such that we succeed. I'm quite confident that the ANC will win the elections given the support that it has on the ground. It may not be in terms of the percentages that are desirable and that which we may want to see as the African National Congress. But that will secure victory whether elections are in October or beyond October. I have no doubt in my mind that the great masses of our people in KZN may be unhappy about what is happening currently, but they are not about to abandon or turn their backs on the African National Congress.
Mr. Ntuli, I'm completely out of time, but I've got to squeeze this one in. You will go into this campaign limping, or should we say without your strongest campaigner former President Jacob Zuma. In your view, is it still a factor or expandable?
All leaders of the ANC, Xoli, current and former leaders of the ANC are a factor, have a role to play. And even if we go to the campaign without former President Zuma, it would mean that, as it would have happened in the past, that we would have gone to a campaign with some of our key leaders and key former leaders of our movement. But the ANC is the ANC, and the ANC will be able to sail and pull in up to a point where it succeeds.
Mdumiseni Ntuli, thank you very much for your time. Would have loved to continue this conversation, but time, always the enemy. Thanks indeed for your time.